Welcome to another episode of Pints of You with me, Garry Goldsmith, here at the Cavendish. No one's going to believe that, are they? Hello, everybody. It's an unusual start to the Pints of You podcast, but it's not your usual friend, Garry Goldsmith. It's me, producer James, the occasional idiot behind the scenes who basically is here to press jingles and have a bit of a laugh. You might hear me chirping occasionally in the interviews with Garry and his illustrious bunch of mates. But I like to think of myself as the brains behind the operation, but that's probably a bit grandiose. It's actually Gary's PA, Emma, who's the actual brains behind the operation. But I'm here to press the jingles and make the buttons do their thing. And for today's best of special, I'm also just going to quickly introduce you as to what's coming up on today's podcast, because maybe you know Garry Goldsmith, and if you do know Garry Goldsmith, you'll know that trying to secure him is like trying to nail jelly to a wall. It's quite difficult to do. So I couldn't drag him out of West 1. God forbid he leaves Marylebone and he'll get a nosebleed, and drag him all the way to Ilford, where this lovely studio is where we're recording right now. He couldn't make the journey, supposedly. So I'm going to do the intro to the final wrap-up episode of this season, the end of season 2, and what an amazing season it's been. Now, I'll be honest, when Garry said to me a couple of years ago, or a year ago now, I'm going to do a podcast episode, I'm going to do it on a weekly basis, and I've got a bunch of amazing friends. I was like, okay, well, everyone sort of thinks their friends are amazing to a certain extent. I had no idea the quality and the quantity of very, very interesting, very, very exciting and very, very successful friends that Garry actually has. And true to his word, he's got a bunch of very, very cool people, as you've heard throughout this season. Now, if this is your first episode, by the way, and any of the clips that you're about to hear from some of our best of moments of season 2, if you haven't heard the full episodes, go back and check them all out. There'll be links in the show notes if you're listening to this episode of the podcast. There'll also be links in the description if you'd like to watch this podcast as well. And you can go and listen to the full interview, because we've had the likes of, I've got a list of them here, Billy Schwer, champion boxer. I don't know why I'm doing that. That's not how you box, is it? It's not. But Billy Schwer, champion boxer and now champion of business mindsets. An amazing conversation which kicked off season 2 of the podcast. Billy Schwer, Garry Blackburn, the manager to so many incredible people. Ronnie Harris, accountant to the stars. He's the accountant to so many stars, he couldn't say who's the accountant for. I think Garry dropped some slightly less than subtle hints, so you kind of get the concept of that. But you'll hear from him in this episode. Sir Karl Jenkins, the guy who has still got a classical album in the charts. It's been in the charts, I think it's like 19 years. It's done over 1,000 weeks in the charts, and he is the go-to person when you hear the pomp and ceremony of the great and the good of the UK Empire, or the British Empire. He is quite often the person who soundtracks the amazing stuff that you see happen with all that pomp and ceremony. We had Paul Herman, an amazing interview with him. James Day, an incredible interview with him. Mark Powell, who suits and tailors half of the Illuminati, not the Illuminati, definitely not the Illuminati, in case Mark's listening, but the great and the good of British society. James Sinclair, the entrepreneur clown, came on this season. Romilla Arber, who used to work in the world of recruitment and now just sort of knocks about running multiple cafes, businesses, pubs, and does the most amazing food in the most amazing environments. It's a really interesting one with Romilla, actually, because she's such good friends with Garry that they didn't really have like a big context of the content they were going to chat about. But through the learnings and lessons that she's got of making these amazing businesses, I thought just like a really nice, gentle interview with just packed with so much insights and wisdom. Rob Lee, I'm a former Charlton legend. He also, I think he'd done a bit for England and Newcastle at some stage, but Charlton legend, Rob Lee, who I keep seeing on loads of documentaries at the moment. And finally, ending up this series, John Morris, who was one of British or English cricket's rising stars. He sort of shot himself in the foot, though, because during one of the Ashes series, he decided to kidnap a plane and fly over the top of a stadium. And once he'd done that, his face didn't really fit thereafter. So he could have gone on to have an incredible career, but he had a good career nonetheless. But a slight incident in a biplane, which you can hear about on the podcast, kind of curtailed his ascent towards greatness to some extent. So again, Billy Schwer, Garry Blackburn, Ronnie Harris, Sir Karl Jenkins, Paul Herman, James Day, Mark Powell, James Sinclair, Romilla Arber, Rob Lee and John Morris have all appeared in season 2 of Pints of You. You're going to hear now some of our highlights and some of our clips and some of our best moments of the conversations that we've absolutely loved recording. Hopefully you guys listening and watching at home have enjoyed them as well. And again, if you listen to a particular clip, you're like, oh, I'd love to listen to the full episode of that, click the link in either the show notes or the description, and you can go and listen to the full uninterrupted brilliance that is Pints of View. Make sure you stick around. Make sure you click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you click follow if you're listening on the podcast apps as well, because season 3 of the podcast will be going immediately after this episode. We're going straight into season 3. We've got some amazing people. I'm not even going to tell you who they are because I've just chucked a bunch of names at you. But trust me, if you like conversations with people who've genuinely achieved great things, you like to have a bit of a laugh, think of this like a peer-to-peer conversation. Two mates in a pub talking about how they've succeeded at the top levels of business and life. That's what you're going to get more of in season 3. But for now, check out our best of moments of season 2 for Pints of View.
So I'd won the title. So now my thinking was, from a business perspective, I've got to make it pay.
It's a short shelf life.
I've got to make it pay. So I've got to get back to work, make it pay. So then organised my next fight only 3 months later. So I went on holiday, come back, got back to work. And as I was in preparation for my first defence of the title, I remember sparring. I remember getting it punched in the head and it just didn't feel right. I thought, this ain't right. There's something wrong here. I didn't tell anyone. So me being me, didn't tell anyone, kept it quiet, and then I had my fight. So I went ahead with the fight and it went 11 rounds and I got knocked out. So then in my first defence, my dream just been shattered. So I was, upon reflection, it's so easy. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to do that. I was just reckless. So then but this time, so I get knocked out, lose my title, I end up back in hospital. But this time I travel in style. I get taken out of the ring on a stretcher, put in the back of an ambulance, and we go to the Royal Free Hospital in London. Sirens are blaring, we're dodging the traffic. I was conscious, but I was uncertain of my future, but I was frightened. And it was in that moment, on going to my second trip to hospital, I kind of realised that this is it.
20 years.
This is it. Yeah.
Hitting and being hit. That's a very long time. That's a bigger shelf window than most people get these days.
And it was,
and you probably have had more fights because of that generation than they would have in this generation.
Yeah, as an amateur, I had nearly 100 fights. We was fighting regular.
It's amazing that you actually still just, compass. It's, it realistic.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah, you've been hit a lot.
I'm grateful because I know a lot of fighters who are not.
And when did you make the decision then, just to say, hang up your gloves?
It was kind of in the back of the ambulance. I kind of realised that I knew kind of in that moment, my life as I know it is over.
And that was finishing on top, mate.
Yeah, but no, I wasn't. But that was when I made the toughest decision I've ever made, to retire from boxing. I mean, life-changing decisions are not easy, are they?
No.
But the thing about it was, you said I've finished at the top, but it wasn't. No, I didn't feel that way. I felt like a failure because I'd lost my title at my first defence, and it wasn't the right wide world title. I wanted to win another one. I didn't make enough money from it. It's only my first defence. It was I felt like a failure, and that was really hard to be with. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Wait, yeah, because you tick the box.
Yeah, but not this box for myself.
There's a lot of people, if you think about billionaires, right, when's enough? And when they stop, they just feel pointless and they've actually just lost their purpose. So
I was in pursuit of the world championship, thinking it was the thing and that was going to be it, but it wasn't. So I didn't have a goal beyond the goal.
Did you have a plan B?
No. There was no plan B. This was it.
Tell us about your management at that point. So did you have an epiphany? Did you say, I'm stopping? Or was it, okay, I need to have the conversations with all those people around me to see where we want to go?
I kind of
insert side as that light gone.
Yeah, I kind of knew, it's such a blur. It's that period of my life it's blurred.
I then got offered a job as head of promotion at Island Records. Do you know the history of Island Records?
I don't know the history of Island Records.
Island Records was the coolest label on the planet. Chris Blackwell, white Jamaican guy who basically signed Bob Marley amongst numerous other amazing artists. And working there was the holy grail of labels. And I got the job as the head of promotion. I couldn't believe it.
How old were you?
24.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was brilliant, Gary. It was so exciting. And I got a Golf GTI company car, and yeah, it was the 80s by then, I think.
Big time.
Yeah. So, yeah. And at that time, our mutual friend Bill was probably starting up with you around that time.
Yeah.
You know, so the 80s were, I mean, they're kind of parodied a lot now as a time of...
I'm a Thatcher child.
Yeah.
And she did all right by me, but she did say, get on your bike and start businesses.
Yeah.
That whole yuppie culture.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I don't think it's all down to her, but symbolically perhaps.
Yeah, it was just that moment in time.
I mean, I spent a lot of time railing against her because and that came a bit later. Yeah, the miners' strike. Because I managed a band. My first band I managed was called the Redskins, who were a trio of Marxist skinheads. They were like the Clash meets the Supremes. They were amazing.
The Clash meets the Supremes.
Yeah, if you anybody
that's a mush up.
It's a mush up. Go on to one of the DSPs and check them out. They were amazing. Chris Moore was actually a journalist at NME who thought everything was so shit he'd start his own band, and they were brilliant. Do you remember a program called The Tube?
Yeah.
Tyne Teas, made in Newcastle, run by an amazing man, Malcolm Geary, real pioneer of music television. Paulie Yates presenting, Jules Holland presenting. Yeah. At Ireland, I was up there every Friday. They loved all the acts on Ireland. We were up there every week. It was absolutely brilliant. Managing the Redskins, I got the Redskins on. It was during the miners' strike, and they're on stage playing, and it's live TV. Like this could be live,
right?
Where if it's live, it's a bit more dangerous because anything can happen. And they'd sneaked this striking miner into the studio. They get on stage, start performing "Keep On Keeping On" or "Kick Over the Statues," one of their tracks. And the striker was called Norman. No, I didn't even know the bloke was in there. He just walked up on stage and started delivering this political speech live on TV. I thought my whole life was over. I thought, my God, they're going to kill me. You know, Malcolm was going to kill me. And afterwards, he called me up to his office, you know, in the offices behind the studio. I thought, oh, no, I'm going to get into so much trouble. And Malcolm said, "Hey, kid, why didn't you tell us what you were doing?" I said, "Malcolm, to be honest, I didn't know it was happening." He said he went to a mic that wasn't switched on, so his voice didn't go out on TV, and everyone's going to think we turned him off. So, irony of ironies, you know. But
that's funny.
It was really interesting, at the time. And that band, I tried to get in touch with Chris the other day, but he didn't want to talk to me. Oh, I was really upset about that.
We've got to touch crypto. Now,
our firm has got a digital asset department now. So we employ about 25 people purely doing digital asset work, NFTs, crypto, and everything blockchain related. So we've got, I think, 3 partners just doing digital assets.
Okay. Now, is that something?
Don't ask me to explain it.
Well, what's your opinion on it?
It's here to stay.
Okay. So it's not going to go away.
I don't believe it'll so.
But do you think each one of the currencies is going to survive?
Yes.
Because they seem to bounce in and out. It seems very flaky. The people who I know who've got money don't like it. The people who haven't got money seem to love it.
Yeah, I think you could go a bit more young and old.
Okay, so yeah.
So if you've got the younger generations believe more in let's call it digital currencies, than the older generations, like people like me, which is why the average age with our 25 people is probably 30 or something. You know, right. It's here to stay, Gary. It's not going anywhere. Do I see it replacing dollar, euros? No. But it's here, you know. You will be able to pay for your beer in it in time. I don't quite know where it's all going. We're in a very changing world. There was an article like Musk said to people in America, well, why do you need Vodafone? Why do you need a phone line? All you need is your phone off a satellite, and just have, you just use, all your phone calls can be digital. So you don't need a phone line anymore.
I love that. So when was the last time you saw Richard Hauptmann, Bubbler? Recently?
No.
At the wedding? So at the wedding. So Richard's now got a gold credit card, and it's literally 24 karat gold. And it's a brand new investment. The only two people who got a card is Richard and Jack Grealish. Garish. Awkward.
So it's physically made of gold.
It's physically made of gold, and effectively you buy gold and you trade gold. So you can buy a cup of coffee and you just sell a fraction of your gold stock, and then they do all the transactions.
I hope Jack Grealish understands it.
Well, yeah, but probably not. But it sounds like a really clever way to do it, because actually gold is much less. They haven't got the massive fluctuations, swings that you would have in things like.
I'm not certain gold's been that fantastic an investment if you take a 10-year view, but I'm not certain. I'm not an expert in it.
Okay.
I'm not. It's all speculation. If you've got your money, what I can understand buying crypto. Doing that, I don't know.
See, I'll definitely go for gold over crypto, but you're right. I'm an old git, so that's probably the biggest issue.
But they'll say go into some pharmaceutical thing over gold. I don't follow it all.
Talking of Jack,
statins.
You looked after Harry for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, you mean Mr. Redknapp?
Yes.
Our firm represented him for some years. One of my partners represented him, not me personally. Now, he was a character, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, he told some great stories. You want a good story? Harry story. I remember Harry telling me that he signed a new player at West Ham. I can't remember his name, from overseas player, and he always wore the number 10 shirt or whatever he did for his club, and they paid a lot of money for him, West Ham, and he put up the team sheet, whatever the day of the game, I can't remember him saying, and the player sees his name there, but number 27, and he says, me no 27, me 10. So he goes up to Redknapp and he says, me no play, me 10, not 27. He said, look, son, I know you were 10 at wherever the club was, but we've got a number 10. It's Gary Goldsmith. He's number 10, and we do all our numbers at the beginning of the season. Next season you could be number 10, but this season you're 27. No, me no play 27. He said, no, you've got to play. You're on the team sheet. We've signed you. You've got to play. No, me no play. Me leave now. He said, no. He says, don't be daft. He says, you're playing. You're number 27 next season. He says, no. He packs up his bags and he leaves the ground. I couldn't believe it. He says, you get him back. And they try to get him back. He says, no, boss. He's gone.
Tell me about your relationship and your because obviously you're a proper favourite of the royal fam. How did that all come about?
Well, peculiarly, unless they know, sometimes they don't have a choice in. Not they do have a choice, but maybe the recommendations from another source
for events. I mean, you compose pieces for the coronation, for example.
Yeah, but that was Charles, when he was Prince of Wales. There used to be a tradition from Queen Victoria's days that the Prince of Wales had a because harp being synonymous with Welsh culture. Since Queen Victoria's days, the Prince of Wales had a royal harpist, and that tradition fell away. When Charles became Prince of Wales 50 years or so ago, he resurrected that tradition. And there's a friend of mine, Catherine Finn, she was the royal harpist, and he knew of me and she knew of me, so they asked me to write a concerto for her on the Prince. So a snippet out of that work was played live by the current royal harpist, Alice Hughes, in the Abbey at this year's coronation.
But they know you, right? So the family.
I know him, yes. I know some of the other. I think, what's his name? He used to like my music a bit. Prince Philip. But he was funny. I wrote a fanfare for Poundbury. Poundbury is this place, this village in Gloucester that Prince Charles built. You know, it's old architecture. Not old, it's new build, but it looks
ancient. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were coming. The royal party went through Waitrose first to look at the goods in Waitrose because the royal, what's it called down there? The place.
It's not Sandra.
Cornwall, isn't it? That Chi of Cornwall.
Yes,
They sell in Waitrose, don't they?
Yeah.
So anyway, they came through and he came here. He said, I hear you writing a piece for us today. I said, it's a fanfare for brass. I said. He said, oh, very good, very good. I said, you won't hear it because you're going down the other end by the time it gets played. So he came back to me and said, well, that's good because I won't have to say if I like it or not.
It was brilliant. It was you actually got quite a lot of airtime during the coronation. You were there with Andrew Thorpe-Webber, who literally looked like his face had been slapped. It was so miserable during it, and you looked really quite joyous and having a good time. It was a beautiful thing, and I think you're a very humble and a very beautiful soul. Should we talk about some of the? We will talk about Rod
Temperton.
So I was blown away. We must have spent 2 hours. You were very, very, very told off when you went home because we did best bottle of wine, talking about Rod Temperton and your relationship with. Tell us the Rod Temperton stories because that was so engaging.
Well, Rod, I'll start at the end because Rod Temperton was a songwriter from Grimsby who wrote a lot of songs with Quincy Jones, for Quincy Jones, and he wrote a lot with Thriller. In fact, he wrote the song called Thriller.
So Luda asked me, what would you give advice to your 18-year-old yourself?
Yeah.
And I said, I wish someone had told me to save 50% of my commission and my bonuses every year and put them away so they didn't exist. And what would I be worth today? And would my life have been any richer or poorer today? Yeah. And I think actually I've been significantly better off because I was just wasting money and buying stuff.
I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to challenge that. I read a book 2 weeks ago. I was advised by a friend of mine to read this book. And actually one of the things you said to me is, do you like any books? I said, I don't read a lot, but there's one book I did read, which was unbelievable. And it was called Die with Zero. Have you read it?
No, but there's my mantra in life. I told Lulu she's not going to inherit anything because I'm going to burn every penny.
It's not to do with that. It's to do with when you look at the value of your life, when you're lying on your deathbed and you go back and you say, what's the worth, my life worth? And you've got your boats, you've got your houses, your villas, you've got whatever you've got, and your money in the bank, your portfolios, you've got all of that. And you turn around and you say, actually, what's it worth? And this book says, it's by a guy called Perkins, I think Bill Perkins from memory, you can check that. I think it's Bill Perkins. And it's all about every life experience should be encouraged. When you get to 75, you can't enjoy the experiences. You can't do, most people, your skydiving. You can't go trekking around, Thailand. You can't go to trekking up the Himalayas and do the Inca Trail. You can't do those things. You can't do the exciting things you wanted. And at that point in time, what you're doing is you're deriving value from the memories that you've got. And the memory is called the memory dividends. And he says in the book, obviously, you can't do it if you're scrapping around for money on a daily basis. But he says if you create a memory, you won't just enjoy. It's about being in the moment. If you enjoy that being in the moment, I know mental health is very close and dear to your heart and my heart. And you sit there and you say, this is the moment. This is the value I'm getting out of that for my life. If you look at the number of times you get that memory dividend, which is what it's called, that comes back, that sum of those memories and those memory dividends is what makes the contentment in your life. So when you say, Gary, I shouldn't have done X, Y, Z, I suspect you'll sit there and rather than having a better boat and rather than having a better car and rather than having a bigger house or a bigger villa, you'll look back at the memories you've had, and you've had lots, but you'll look back at those memories, the good memories, and you'll sit there and say, this is what we did. This is what we did in Ibiza. Oh, do you remember that? Do you remember what we did here? What we did? So it's that memory.
You're making me emotional.
So that book had a profound, and I only read it 2.5 weeks ago.
It had I've got an audio book, and it's a 4-hour read, 4-hour listen. That book had a profound impact on the way I would look at things. And everyone you tell about goes, oh yeah, it's about pissing the cash away. So you've got nothing. You're not going to leave anything as inheritance. It's not about that. It's about showing that your fulfillment and the value of your life, the life that you've had is the sum of those experiences and the enjoyment you've got from those memory dividends. And if you look back and have a memory that goes back, if you imagine a dividend, a memory you had last year, your trip to Ibiza, and you sit there and say, oh, well, that happened. Oh, we had to laugh. Oh,
we had a wolf on my Lilo with people going, it's a fucking wolf. Yeah, literally.
So you get enjoyment from it now,
right? Now,
and you get enjoyment for it down the line. And so the memory dividend.
Agree.
So the memory dividend. So when you say, we should have done things and saved, this book is not about saving. This book is about enjoying yourself, and it starts with a young fella who goes off travelling when he's 21. He's got bugger all money, and he's spending all his money. And the guy says, "You should have done that because you wouldn't be able to do it." He then goes back to his friend who's 28. He's already met a girlfriend, and he can't go and do it. So he's like, when you've got that opportunity, your life, you've got to go and take those opportunities. And that's what I think you've done so wonderfully well.
So when I was 38, I retired and I took 10 years off. And it's like, what should we do today? Should we get on the Orient Express? I was finding out people saying, should we go to Paris for lunch? And he goes, we're still working. But when people say, we've got a lunch club and we're taking people to Madrid. Yeah. And they said, what's the budget? I went, no. Don't budget. Come back with the best memories in the world so that people love each other and don't want to leave it. That whole urban golf journey, the people where you make money today, are they stags, blokes who don't play golf, there for a laugh and a good night out, which it is? Or is it people who are taking golf really seriously who just need to get their practicing when they're working so hard?
All of that. But it's definitely more golfers now.
Right.
There's more golf swings in the room. And it's geared up so that people come in groups and that's the only way you can make it work. So it really is kind of... and what's amazing about urban golf is that most nights of the week, 20 people organise themselves into a group of 4 or more people. We all know how hard that is.
That's right. It's like herding sheep.
Yeah. So it's there are a lot more groups of people like you and I who play golf on a reasonably regular basis that are into playing on sims now. It's simulator golf is really, it's booming now. I mean, I was way too early.
So why didn't we do it in the airports? Because I thought airside, I know it's a big metal stick and it's a really hard ball, so weapons grade. But apart from that, if you sign 3 balls out and you sign out 2 bats and you've got a 6-hole challenge, and then you could have a prize for a second-hand Mini, whoever gets the nearest the pin for a year.
My thing is, you need with Sims how they are at the moment, you need to put 5 or 6 in a place to make it work. 1 or 2 never works.
Okay.
Because it's just not, you can't get enough out of them.
Right.
I've worked on something which is like an indoor driving range, which you just go up and hit shots on, swipe your credit card, and some unmanned and everything, unstaffed. But I haven't quite got that done yet.
Okay. Should we have a chat?
Yeah.
Because I'm all over this. Because when you go to flying anywhere, you're there 2 hours early. It's like, and you go to a lounge and it's just people just doing this. Yeah. Wouldn't you prefer to have that in the BA lounge? Well,
look, it's an interesting moment in my life in urban golf business because I've got it into a very steady state. But now indoor golf is going to boom. So you know about this Tiger Woods thing next year?
No.
So basically, Tiger Woods had invested about a year ago into a simulator company, the worst simulator company, by the way, which is weird. They're the same sims that we threw away to move to the new stuff we're on now. I don't get it, but anyway. And he has pitched this idea called they call it TGL. It's him and Rory McIlroy, and it's in a stadium in an arena with, imagine like a massive screen, but ultimately a simulator. And they will play matches in 2 hours. It's going to be screened on ESPN prime time, and it's massive money. Massive.
So like e-games.
Well, they are, they will have to do something. So it will say that it's a full swing simulator, but it won't be. They will have to do something with some mega camera tracking technology, some really good stuff.
Not turned up to max.
Then yeah, exactly, and make it accurate. And then apparently they're going to putt. They've got a putting green which will move, so they can actually hit the putts once they get inside about 30 feet. They can hit the putts.
That's genius, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and that's going to really catapult. I mean, indoor golf is booming anyway, and obviously Tiger's now opening indoor golf centres, so he's got his first one in New York. Tiger was Justin Timberlake. They're opening indoor golf centres, so yeah. So now it's time for me to get off my butt, really. So
let's talk.
Yeah,
brilliant. I love the fact you got a moniker, and everyone does know you, the Godfather over at Soho. So it'd be lovely to hear a little bit about your Soho journey.
When I was about 13, 14, I was already really obsessed with style and fashion. And there come a point when I couldn't get exactly what I wanted from the streets. So I started to go and things tailored for myself and style things myself. So there was that sort of thing going on for me on a personal level as well. So there was obviously already a passion within me to go that way. I never thought probably in that period in the 70s that I would go into having my own shop so young, but I did. But
how old were you then?
24.
Shut up.
Yeah, so I was 24 but it was a bit of a bizarre story. I used to work in Covent Garden and on Floral Street, and this youngish guy used to come in, looked very cool, very stylish, to come in the shop, spend a lot of money, a lot of cash. And, just got curious, started talking, and I said, well, what do you do then? He said, I've got a load of small cinemas in the West End. So he was obviously in the porn game. And then we got talking, and it turned out...
Is that the code?
That was our first...
the code?
Yeah.
Got a lot of cinemas.
Yeah. So that's how I got my first shop. So my first shop was on Archer Street. And it originally had been a sex shop, and it had like the video booths in the shop, which was we converted into changing rooms.
Well, Archer Street's got a really good restaurant bar now.
It's a lovely street now since the hotel on the corner there opened up.
Well, that's where all the kids.
Haymarket, not Haymarket, the Ham Yard opened up.
That's where all the West End kids go and perform.
That's right, the Archer Bar. The Archer Bar. Well, that used to be a casino.
Did it?
And next to me was a casino when I opened that first shop in 85. But it was an interesting period. And of course, I did get quite friendly with the dodgy guy who offered me the shop. And that's a long story in itself. But then, that was an interesting time. Even having the shop in those early days, people like Sade coming in, David Bowie bought stuff for himself and his son, Brian Ferry. So, and already I think because you're that age and you're doing something.
Was that ready to wear at that time?
It was more like a gentleman's outfitters, but in a cool way, quite retro. Right. I'd found this original warehouse full of original 30s, 40s, 50s suits, never worn, and built a look around that because that was quite cool in the early 80s to be into that sort of stuff. And then
that whole sort of generation of let stands for the
that's right.
Trousers, the peg trousers.
Yeah, they peg trousers, all that type of stuff. I've got some great pictures of that period, but of course it kicked off straight away. Evening Standard, big articles, but ID, Face, all the fashion mags at that time because we were like that age and doing it. I had a sort of partner called Nick who was the partner with me in the shop. And I had the shop for a couple of years, and then I got involved with a nightclub, and I did a nightclub for a while, as you do. And
it's Soho.
I was having the shop, so I had a nightclub for a while, and then that all went tits up, which is quite a complex story because of, if you like, politics of Soho. We'll leave it at that. And I'd always done a bit of made to measure and bespoke in the shop for clients. But it was a small part of the business. But when I gave up the shop and then the club, people ringing me up about doing them a suit. And I had my private clients I started to build up. And by sort of 91, 92, I was doing people like Jeremy King, owns the Ivy, and the founder of the Ivy and all that stuff. And it all started to flow again. And I suppose really when I moved to Darblay Street in the 90s, which was a really cool street at that time, you had Black Market Records, you had Duffers at George, the Hairdresser's Fish, the George Pub. It was a little scene on that street in Soho. And I had a little studio there then. I sort of realised with tailoring, I didn't need to have a shop. I could have an atelier if you like. And I had like a little boudoir stroke atelier on the third floor of this building, paying £100 a week. And I was doing 15 bespoke suits a week, and it's boom period. I mean, it was ridiculous.
So who was actually cutting the suits?
At that
did
point,
it all in
at that
UK
time,
or
no,
or
it was
did-
all no. All my workshop was always on Carnaby Street. I worked with all the Greek Cypriot boys. Still great tailors, you know.
Yeah.
My main guy, Jimmy, I worked with. But I mean, you know, in that period, it was Naomi Campbell, George Michael. Every boy band at the time had a Mark Powell suit. I never put them in the thing, but E17, Take That. Wet. And funny enough, just recently, they've just reshot for The Crown the scene with the Spice Girls with Prince Charles. They put kisses all over him.
Yeah.
Well, the orange suit on that from Scary Spice, that was my suit.
Shut up.
Yeah. So, you know, that's it. Iconically historic things, and obviously album covers I was doing as well. So it was a sort of pretty boom period. And, you know, I then moved to Newburgh Street by the mid-90s.
Is that next to the coffee bar?
I was at number 17 Newburgh, so I was the top end where Red Wing is now. I had like a Georgian house. I had a 2-floor thing going on there. And then I had the sort of the classic TV series done on me, Soho Stories, where I went to prison on national television, which, you know, will Mark Powell get out of prison to do the fashion show? Find out in the next edition of Soho Stories. So it was that period. But don't worry, it was only a driving offence. It was nothing serious. It wasn't like something. But I was having a laugh with the programme anyway, because it was all a bit of a joke, because I had some pretty serious stuff going on in the background at that time with various pressures going on, haunting me from the 80s associations, if you like.
Do you know that Soho is brilliant. It's alive. It's buzzing, but it's still quite naughty, and always has been.
Well,
And
there's always
someone who kind of owns the manor.
That's right.
And you got to be respectful, otherwise you just, you know, they will just talk you shop and
That's right. That's right.
or talk you.
Well,
It's-
that's
it's- it. You know, that's with every major city. There's
No, it's
places-
not. It's always there. I mean, the thing is with Soho, I think, and the reason it took so long, if you like, to sort of get a bit gentrified, like Archer Street, for example.
Yeah.
It was full of private landlords that originally were in the, you know, the sex industry.
Yeah.
It was all the usual suspects that we knew.
How many businesses have you had? Because I've made some absolute fucking shockers, by the way. I mean, proper. There was, during that 2007, 6-7 period, when the recession hit, I thought my shit didn't stink. I mean, everything I did just turned to gold. And everybody in the business was saying, we got to cull costs. And I went, fuck it. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to hire 30 people. I'm going to trade my way through it. Now, if I'm honest with you, if it had gone well, and if it was the blip that I thought it was only 6 months longer than I thought it was, I should have held my breath. But we held on to every account that we had. We were nicking accounts, but they weren't generating revenue, but we were building relationships. If I'd held my breath, think about how stronger my business would have been coming out. Absolute game changer. The truth was I bottled it, and I had to sack everybody, and it took me nearly just over 2 years to get back to where I was, to make up those losses. Have you made any mistakes?
Yeah, plenty. Usually my mistakes have been when I've got involved in low barrier to entry stuff. And very recently I got involved in a business that was too easy for someone to copy it, you know, and then wherever that's happened, so I had a chain of party shops, physical party shops. It's just naff business. You know, people were going online more back then, like Party Pieces, which we pulled from your sister. But I ended up with 2 shops, and they were just really hard work, and I'd done my money there.
And where was the money? Because obviously you got leases, you got stock, and you got staff there.
And that's the other thing that people don't. You know, it steals your time from other parts of your business. Now I've got, you know, many plates I'm spinning. So if my time goes into the naughty kid, like if I'm a teacher and I put all my time on the naughty kid rather than look after the good kids, making them great, you know, and the entrepreneurs have got to get very good at making the good kids great, and, you know, not focus on all the naughty kids. And
brilliant, right? So you, I've seen you on stage. You were amazing at Ibiza, by the way. I mean, your energy of that day was sick, and it was so cool. You went, I don't want any slides. All I want is 2 flip charts, and I got the room, and you fucking had that room. So this is big, right? So you're basically something that actually means the world to you, turning it into a business learning on the job.
Yeah.
Never. I'm guessing. Well, I don't think you'd ever worked for a food chain or a food business.
No.
So you don't, nicking, skimming, how to manage a proper booking system, all of those things. You probably had to acquire some knowledge.
Yeah, so much knowledge.
And then make it your own.
Yeah.
Did it become unfun quite quick?
Come unfun?
Yeah.
There have been moments when it's not been fun. When staff have let you down, or but they're less than the high moments, I think. The best moments are when, I've got staff who've been with me since the beginning, which is unheard of in the hospitality business. People who you've seen grow from, coming in and being a delivery driver, or a sort of like just someone who, sort of more manual, coming in and becoming a manager, and their salaries increasing. That's really rewarding part of it.
Yeah, taking people on a journey.
Yeah.
Were you very selective of the locations where you set up, so that people would, rather than actually think, I'm going to use the wrong words, right? So minimum wage, poorer areas where people are potentially on the breadline and they wouldn't see the value in this. So did you have to think very carefully about locations where you could set this up where your values would match people's affordability?
We've opened in a couple of places where we've decided been the wrong places, but we know now what are the right places. But I think everyone wants to buy into these values. There's no one that's going to say, no, I don't want to know what's in my food. I don't care what's in my food. There are obviously budget restrictions, like people can't eat organic chicken and, free range eggs because they haven't got the money to do it. So there's no judgment involved. No. But what I'm trying to do is give people as much information that I can so that they can make informed decisions about what they're eating. I'm not judging people and saying you should be eating organic bread and sourdough all the time. It's a choice, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not a choice, but people just have to be respectful of that.
Yeah, so, but one of the sort of values, one of the ethics we have is that you add to the community that you're in. So you don't just sit there and try and make money out of being there and without giving back to or engaging with the people who live there. So, and also a lot of the other sort of the obviously big chains like Gales and Pret a Manger and stuff, they tend to go into areas that we don't want to go into because the rents and the rates are so high. So I don't like Pret, and I never go to a Pret because there's more salt in a Pret sandwich than there is in a packet of ready salted crisps. Yeah.
And I just think that's just wrong, right? We should be at least trying to do our best.
Yeah.
As opposed to flavouring food by just saturating it with the wrong things. And that's not right.
Yeah.
So, I am one of those people who can walk past the Greggs, but whether I choose to or not, it's a different thing.
But yeah, so some of the places we're in are quite interesting, and then we don't have to compete with the bigger people.
So what's the plan? And mainly cafes, pubs. Are they gastro pubs or do they all sell food? Is there a restaurant in the mix?
They sell food and drink, basically.
Right, everywhere that you do.
They're just the two pubs we've got, yeah.
What's the plan next?
Well, it's just to get to more coffee shops. I've decided that pubs are too tricky at the moment. The costs are too high. If you want to pay people the proper, the real living wage.
Yeah, which went up this week, didn't it?
Yeah. It's almost impossible to do that in a pub setting with food now, especially in a rural setting, which is what we tend to do.
So if we talk about staff, should we touch on that whole COVID thing? Because it's amazing that your business survived because loads didn't. Tell us about what COVID meant to you and the business, because you're responsible for a lot of people's
of course.
pensions and mortgages and life.
No, I remember.
That's pretty heavy responsibility, isn't it?
That's going to be one of the days that you never forget, is it? The day we were told to lock down, and then you're looking at, we employed nearly 120 people then. And I'm looking at them and thinking, because at that stage we didn't know there was going to be any furlough either.
No.
So basically we were looking at, that's it, we're going to have to close. Because I suppose at the beginning we thought we'd probably be closed for about 3 months. We didn't know we were going to be closed effectively on and off for 2 years. So the business lost a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. We're sort of, the last year has been recovering from that.
My son, Ollie, who's just had to retire from football, he does the academy full time at Spurs. When I was actually there, watched them yesterday at Gillingham. Pissed down with rain, but I mean, they've got a fantastic training ground. But again, the academy, they sort of like, if they don't make it in the academies, they try and teach them to play this tippy-tappy football, and if they don't make it and they have to go down the leagues, it's very, very tough for them. And they have to be.
The tippy-tappy doesn't make it in Division 3,
No. And I told that to my sons. I mean, both my sons started at West Ham, both had to go, Ollie was on loan at Dagenham, Elliot went on loan to both of them went on loan quite a few clubs. And I said to you, you have to adjust. You're not in the, you're not in the Premier League sort of doldrums of playing in these academies and under 23s, and there's no reserve team. When I played, I learnt my trade playing reserve team football against ex-players that were injured or coming back or out of favour.
It's cold, isn't it?
The shit out of you, and that's how you learn. There should be reserve leagues, but how do you get these superstars of
to be asked?
Yeah, to play in these games.
But you mentioned Elliot, he's at Wrexham now. Yeah. I mean, Hollywood football is he having fun?
Oh, he's loving it. Yeah, he's loving it. It was at Charlton at season before last, and on loan from Luton, and had done well at Charlton. Was sort of like he had a few clubs wanting him because he was out of contract at Luton, and I just said to him, I knew Ryan Reynolds was his favourite actor, and I said, well, imagine if they come in for you, what would you do? And he went, I'm not going down to the National League, I can't. And then his agent rang me up and just said, Wrexham have come in for him. He said, what do you reckon? I said, you got to tell him, you have to tell him. So told him, and Phil Parkinson was pestered him. I mean, he rang him every few days, manager at Wrexham. And then, he sort of like, he's took a chance and gone down there, and it's just gone from strength to strength,
So do you reckon it's real? Do you reckon their involvement in the club, and it from the outside looks like they've got a real passion for it?
They have. It's not a put on it. I've met them a couple of times with Elliot, and they're I said to Elliot, I said, I've had some good owners in my time, some big clubs, but I've never had the owner ringing me after games and texting me after games. And he gets that from Ryan Reynolds. And
shut up.
And Rob and Ryan's brother, he texts him. So I said enjoy it, because I've never had that. I've never had Newcastle. I've never had the owners ringing me saying how well you played and how good you are. But maybe it's the way we change. Maybe, but they're just massively into the community. That the club reminds me of Newcastle in a smaller way. The fact that they've got great owners, got a great manager. The club's going in the right direction. They're building a new stand. The community is sort of like it's just a club that's on the up, and it's really exciting.
It's exciting, right? Because I was supposed to be going to the Wimbledon FC first game of the season. I couldn't get that. I got stuck in Ibiza, and everyone was saying, "Do you want to come down and see the Wrexham game?" Now these are guys who are serious shareholders at Spurs, and they're more excited about that than the first game at Spurs.
Honestly, they get. Yeah, they sell so many shirts to America. They get people visiting. There's a pub called the Turf right by the ground. They get people from America, from Canada, from Australia, all because of these guys. They're so into their football. They don't, and the thing I like about them is they don't know loads about it, and they admit it. They're
well into the scoring corner.
Yeah, it is, and they'll sort of like they'll take the piss out of themselves. You see all their videos, and they just take the piss out of themselves.
That's brilliant,
and it's. We live in a world where you can't take the piss out of anything, but they take the piss out of themselves, and I like that about people.
Well, do you know what? If you think about it, football started as an entertainment, right? The reason why we play 3:00 is because that's the time they used to shut the factories, so that everyone could actually just go factory against factory, town against town, and that's how the Football League basically originated.
You know what?
It's an entertainment.
Keegan, when we played Keegan, he used to say to us, and he said, "Listen, go out and entertain the crowd." And he used to say it's an entertainment. He said, entertain people.
David had got injured. He'd hurt his wrist and he was in great form. And they said, if he's not fit, you play. And then I was wandering around the ground thinking, am I in? Am I out? I don't know, And then I just got this sort of like look from Gucci, and he went, David's playing. I was delighted at the fact that our best team was going to be out there, or in my opinion, the best player at that point. But I was devastated that I didn't play, because Boxing Day Test match, 100,000 people at the MCG.
Yeah, no,
you want it on your CV.
You want to break into his room, hit him with a bat. I mean, that's what you want.
Well, yeah, good point. But I didn't play, and that was it really. And then prior to the fourth test, which was going to be in Adelaide, we played up country. We went up to Queensland, and we played at a place called Carrara on the Gold Coast. A lot of people watch I'm
named
a Celebrity.
After the Porsche, no doubt.
Well, I think maybe the Porsche might have been named after Carrara. I don't know. But,
yeah, I guess, yeah.
But so you watch I'm a Celebrity. So you see where they all come to
Why
at the
are people
beginning.
rubbing this in? Just because I got said no. Unbelievable.
I didn't realise that. Well, there you go.
Cheers.
So where they walk off their buildings and those hotels and they do all those tests prior to going into the jungle, that's Carrara. That's the Gold Coast. And Carrara Stadium is just set back from there. It's where they had the Commonwealth Games a few years ago. Brisbane Bears used it as a Australian football stadium, big ground, but they also played cricket there. And we had this game, 4-day game against Queensland, warm-up game prior to the fourth test. Graham Gooch came to me and said, would you bat at 3, my preferred position? And I said, of course I would. I got 132, played brilliantly, I played brilliantly. I'm blowing smoke where it shouldn't be blown, but you get 132 against a team like Queensland, which was the Australian test attack, really.
Yeah.
So I think I played quite well. Gucci and I put a load on together. And then on the second day, just after I got out, for 2 days, these tiger moths had been buzzing around the ground. 2 planes, 1938 Tiger Moths, little aerodrome just by the ground, literally next door. And I went up for lunch and overheard David Gower and Alan Lamb discussing the 2 1938 Tiger Moths. Now, we'd already said that we were going to bat till tea. Robin Smith was 90-something not out. Lammy was batting with him. So David just said, well, I'm going to go up in one of the planes. And I said, well, there's 2. Do you need a co-pilot? Thinking it was absolutely fine, not thinking for 1 minute that it was going to cause the furore that it did. And we literally...
Oh, it did?
Oh, I'm well aware. And we went across the road. Can you believe one of the pilots was called Bruce? An Australian called Bruce. He knew who David Gower was, I hadn't got a clue who I was. We hired him to take off literally just as the guys came back out to play. Big electronic scoreboard, R.A. Smith, 101. As we buzzed the ground, perfect timing. And we came in at 150 feet above the sight screens. And Lammy knew it was us. He was the only one that knew because he'd had that conversation with David. And he gave it the old machine gunner. It was like to shoot us down with his bat. And we flew from one side of the ground to the other. And there was rugby posts at one end as well. We flew between those rugby posts and off we went for literally 20 minutes and landed the aeroplanes. One guy, a photographer, friend of ours, Graham Morris, who was a tour photographer. It was always comical with Graham because I'd always end up with his photographic gear in my room and he'd have all my cricket gear in his room when we checked into hotels. Well, I come back to the ground with David. We've had a couple of pictures taken with Graham Morris. And then the other press photographers, Graham had gone back and said, it was John Morris and David Gower in the planes. So one of the guys asked if he could go back and do some pictures for them, which we did. And I think that's what annoyed the hierarchy more than anything. I remember...
Was it not being there for the team?
Yeah.
Not supporting the team?
Yeah, I think
just
so.
Just taking the piss? One of the most important...
Yeah, the other thing that is going on the tour, that it's been well publicised, so I'm not telling any untruths here, that Graham and David had not hit it off as well as David's a former captain of England, Gucci's the current captain. There was an edge going on. There was, a couple of times where things were said probably that shouldn't have been said. Gucci wasn't exactly.
Give us examples.
But I can't.
no, right.
But David was playing so well. He'd got 200s in 3 test matches. You can't leave him out the team. So there was a bit of edge going on. And of course, he's involved in this incident. I'm the tag along, really.
I'm poor John Morris.
Yeah. So at the end of the day's play, it's sort of gone round that what we've done. Tuffers and all those lads, Big Dev, and we're having a laugh about it and what have you. And Michael Atherton had said something that he got asked first. I think that's absolute crap. And I've no reason to say that he didn't get asked, but How he got asked, I do not know, because I was the only one that passed them at the right time. So was I unlucky? I don't know. But we were away for 20 minutes, came back, literally everything had kicked off. I was sent back to the hotel. David had disappeared. He'd gone out for dinner with David Frith, who was the editor for the Cricketer magazine, for dinner. No mobile phones, can't get hold of anyone. No. You don't know where he's gone. And I get pulled into the team room with Gooch, Mickey Stewart, Alex Stewart's dad, who was the tour manager, tour coach.
This is not going well.
Peter Lush, who is the tour manager, and Lammy. And I just remember saying to him, listen, guys, this was a bit of fun. Don't overreact on this. Make a laugh out of it, bit of team spirit type thing. And I sort of left the room, and Gucci came with me. It was in the lift as we went back down. He said, not happy about this, really not happy about it. And I thought, I'm in trouble here. Next morning, David knocks on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he says, I think we're in a bit of bother. I said, well, I've gathered that. Leave it with me, I'll get it sorted. Well, let me tell you, it took them a week to decide that what we were going to do. There was talk in the press, and we were going to get sent home from the tour for breaking tour rules, ill-disciplined, undermining management. And you just think, my God, how has this come to this? First tour. We went to Adelaide. I remember getting off the bus, checking into my hotel, my phone ringing in my room. Can you come to Gucci's room? And we walked in, and we were given a statement saying that both players will be fined £1,000, and that'll be the end of the matter. Oh. Now, you've got to remember, £1,000 in those days was a lot of dollar. In fact, it was the most you could get fined on tour. And we've flown an aeroplane. Now, a couple of years previous to that, Chris Broad had kicked the stumps down in Pakistan in frustration and all this sort of stuff. It never got a fine like that. I love Broad, don't get me wrong.
But a lot of people might have seen that plane.
yeah. It was. So I don't know. You just think to yourself, did the crime fit the punishment?
Did you make it to a tour again after?
No. So that was it. I never played for England again after that. And I'd played in all the one-day games, 8 one-day internationals on that tour against New Zealand and Australia. I was asked to bat in every position from 1 to 6. I got runs in some games. I didn't get in others. And I averaged 27 in one-day cricket on that tour in the 8 one-day internationals, and I averaged nearly 40 in first-class games I played.